Today on Lulz, discussing some interesting partnerships with the prediction markets. FanDuel considering a partnership with Kalshi, and Polymarket recently joined forces with X. We'll talk about those implications. And also, we'll get to the bottom of the clickbait on today's episode. Is the McRib back? That's what Brian told me. Stay tuned to find out if that's true.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no. And let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
So last week, the show ended with me getting booted off the stream, essentially. I could not get back in. Brian was by himself. The chat was not working, but you were still broadcasting. At the time, the chat was rooting for you to just continue to go solo for as long as you wanted, but ended up being a shortened 45-minute Lulz episode there.
If I could have saw the chat, I would have kept going, but even that broke. Chat was broken. StreamYard. I don't know how you get kicked out and I stay on live. It makes no sense, but whatever.
Yeah, and it was, sometimes I'm like, oh, is it StreamYard, which is the platform we use to stream, and I use it for everything, been using it forever. I was like, was it on their end? But then we poked around, and it was like a huge outage with Google and some of their hosting stuff. So there were a lot of various, apps that were impacted by that. So at least nice to know that it wasn't a targeted attack against Lulz.
Yeah. Yeah, I was worried about that, Pete. So
I'm trying to think other loose ends from last week's episode.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting your take. I wanted your reaction on the 50 cents for every bet in Illinois.
Oh yeah.
It's 25 cents unless you reach a threshold, but DraftKings and FanDuel reach the threshold. So it'd be any bet, they add 50 cents, flat 50 cents on the bet.
How is it? Have you seen any screenshots of how it's displayed, or is it just fully baked into the VIG?
I don't think we've gotten to that point yet. Remember we did that show on the DraftKings like earning call or whatever, and they talked about it. They released a tweet, I think, didn't they? What it would look like. And I think it's just like your tax bill, not your tax bill, like a bill you get from a restaurant.
Yeah. Well, because that was the whole thing about this that we were initially talking about, where it could be more sinister if they did just pass that tax on or bake it into the odds. So instead of something being minus 110, it's now, minus 120, which would be more of a way of kind of obscuring it in a shady way. But if you're just putting it at the bottom of like, hey, you're betting $10, 50 cents of that is tax, and then this is how much you win on the odds of the bet, at least that's a little straightforward, but it still obviously sucks for the consumer.
Well, yeah. And they can do that? So like if you bet 50 cents on the Bears side or the Bears money line, and let's say it should be minus 110, how much VIG do you have to put on that? So it's what, minus 200 or something?
Right. Which again, but a lot of people, as we know, aren't line shopping. They barely even understand.
That's ridiculous. But even that, if they have to add 50 cents VIG on a 50 cent bet, that's normally minus 110 or 100 or something. It's like what, minus 250? I don't even know. Someone tell me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the conversion would be.
Let me pull this up on screen here just so we can see some of these the official language about it. This was from right before our show last week. Following suit with FanDuel imposing a 50-cent fee on each customer bet In response to the recent and prior sports wagering tax increase passed by the Illinois State Legislature on all mobile and online sports wagers placed with licensed operators, DraftKings today announced that it will implement a 50-cent transaction fee on all mobile and online bets placed in Illinois through DraftKings Sportsbook. And it's so weird. So, they're making a point of saying mobile and online. So at the brick and mortar casinos, is how you can avoid that tax.
Yeah, you can go in person.
Yeah, which again, like why would that be different? Like why would the tax be there for the online but not in person?
The real reason is because of lobbyists. I have no idea what they would even argue why that would be less.
Yeah,
because this goes along with the whole reason. Why does this industry get 50+% taxed, but the shovel guy doesn't?
Right.
And the reason is because it's bad for you. It's a sin. And it's like, okay, well, if it's why do you have it at all?
Yeah.
If you think it's so bad that it needs this heavy tax. I said this at the end of the show last week. It's just they're doing it to fill a budget hole. This is the most likely reason. I'm sure there was some pressure from some other lobbying groups because it's all kind of related. It sounds insane, but like even like labor unions would lobby for this tax, even though it's like, why would a labor union lobby for this tax like the AFL-CIO? And their secretary here in Illinois told me once, like they oppose any government tax rebate for a business.
Okay.
Just blanket, they'll go to the committee and oppose it.
Right.
Any sort of tax deduction for a business because it limits the budget and limits the amount of funds the state has, which could be spent on labor because it's all one big pot.
Yep.
And so if that's the stance, which it is, like even like labor unions could go like, yeah, throw an extra 50 cents on every bet. That's more money for the state. And then we can get more contracts and more, we could fill those potholes finally. Right. And so I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than just the governor wanted to fill the budget hole. But that's definitely a big part of this is we need money. We're not going to cut anything.
Here's an easy.
Everyone knows gambling equals bad. And gambling is a tax on stupid people, so let's just tax them a little bit more. We're already taxing the lottery so much. Why not do it this too? And scratch-off tickets. What's the difference?
You want to hear Jason Robbins blast the Illinois politicians in this interview here?
Illinois recently announcing it will raise taxes on sports wagers and sports betting platform DraftKings, introducing a 50-cent transaction fee per bet in Illinois in response. Now other states could be on the radar too. DraftKings CEO Jason Robbins joins us now. He is speaking at a Jefferies Consumer Conference. Jason, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So when did this 50-cent increase on bets go into place, and have you seen any evidence about how consumers are absorbing it yet?
Well, it hasn't gone into place yet. We announced it'll go in September 1st. This is a recent development. The Illinois legislature.
Real quick, Brian, do you think he's wearing a blazer that has the DraftKings on the inside of the coat, like in this photo here on screen?
He probably, constantly. Every piece of clothing he has.
He sets it to the tailor. And for our audio listeners, there's a photo below this video of him in front of the DraftKings. It's like a promotional photo, and he
probably switches it up.
It's like a normal like maroon blazer, but on the inside, the material is all DraftKings logo plastered throughout.
He might be like, I just want the D logo on this. It looks better on this suede jacket.
He does feel like his outfit too. Like again in this one, he's got like the really nice like t-shirt underneath the blazer. He's cosplaying as one of the Uber tech billionaires.
He definitely sees himself as a tech guy.
Yes. All right, let's keep going.
For the second time in 2 years, raised our taxes. This one was just incredibly ill-conceived. It was a per wager tax of 50 cents, which makes no sense. If you're betting $1 or 50 cents, or even if you're betting $5 or $10, we can't make a profit anymore. So the only way that we're able to actually execute and take those bets in the state is to pass that tax on to the consumer. So all it's going to do is drive people to the illegal market or drive people to bet more. It just makes no sense, and it was done in the dead of night. We had no warning.
It does, like, if they're going to do this tax, why didn't they do it like every other tax in existence and have it be proportional to the amount being wagered?
I'm not sure every tax is like that. I think the gas tax.
I guess you're right. Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
But yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's kind of like how like every good policy idea, it's like, why don't they do it this way? It's like, that's a good question, because they're corrupt idiots.
Do you think is it because well, I guess the state doesn't care. I was like trying to envision if it was like, DraftKings was having to figure out how to deal with this. Like they'd rather probably upset little fish who don't really care about the difference between, a $5 bet or $5.50 bet, but like a whale who's betting $2,000 would probably be pretty upset if he had like $150 tax like associated with a bigger bet. But I don't think the state is thinking that through.
I think that's basically the summation. They're not thinking it through. They don't know anything. So like, this is a failure. Ultimately, this is a failure on DraftKings lobbyists, and they probably should fire them. But it might be hard to get rid of them, or maybe add somebody different. But that's where I would put a lot of the blame. It might have happened anyways, but yeah. Back when poker was happening, I was working down there still, and talking to all the lobbyists and stuff, seeing like, hey, is poker getting illegal? Is poker getting, what's going on? What's going on? And talking with John Pappas, the head of the Poker Player Alliance, back in the day. I wonder if they're even still around. And then I would post on 2+2, the poker forum, like, hey, ask me any questions about the Illinois legislation. And there would be these niche questions. Who's Tim Robinson? Like
from Detroiters, I think you should leave. Friendship, the comedian.
I don't know. I'd have to see his face. But anyways, and then I would post, and then the questions would be like, make sure they have, 100-man sit and go with bounties in the legislation. And it's like, homeboy, they have no clue what you're talking about at all. They don't even know how, they're not only they not know anything about poker, they don't know anything about gambling, and they're not even going to read the bill. So like it has nothing to do with any of that. And I think it's just it's like a very similar extension of that is they're like, yeah, just add 50 cents a bet. What's the big deal? They have no clue, no idea how sports betting works. They don't care. It's not like people still have this 8th grade, civics class view of the government where it's like, they debate the merits of the idea, and the best marketplace of ideas, the best ideas win, and they're just going through this and like going, should we do this or should we do that? It's like that's not how it works at all.
Well, and now you got to think their lobbyists have to be scrambling, right? Like now they need to go work in other states that might be trying to copy this, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's two sides of that. So, like, let's say DraftKings doesn't lose anything here. Like, maybe the average gambler bets a little more. Because they're like, if I bet 50 cents on this dollar, that's stupid. But if I bet $5, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And maybe their share value doesn't go down, or I don't know. Whatever. Let's just say it works out. They could technically roll out higher. They could roll this out everywhere, maybe they or do variation, test it out, and like it's a little extra cash. if they're not getting hammered by the players, the press, or whatever. And then the flip side is what you just said is, like most legislation, they look at other states who do it first and then just copy the language and then change the text with their local states text formatting and then submit it as a bill. So it's definitely possible. I think the first version that they're not going to get harmed by this is pretty unlikely. This is such a it's archaic. Just such a blunt, dumb way to get extra money out of the sport. But I mean, it also goes to show like so many things about they don't know anything about this. And okay, so are they really worried about gambling addiction? Right? Like they all say, every single legislator in Springfield will go, "Oh, gambling addiction. That's why we're charging so much, right? Because it's a sin." This shows they don't know shit about how gambling addiction. Like this would be worse for gamblers with gambling addiction, especially small timers.
Yeah.
Who are, you don't have to lose 50 grand to be gambling addicted. You could just be betting $1 or $2 and that's all you have all the time or whatever. They do not care. They don't know anything about it. It's all just, it's what can be useful in this game of politics. Can gambling addiction help me? I'm going to use it. Can it hurt me? I'm going to say it's no big deal. Like there's no morals here.
Well, it's like, and it hurts the bettor on the bottom of the rung the most. Like you now need a casual bettor who's betting $5, $10, $25 a pop to not only be able to beat the VIG, but then beat the tax and sustain their bankroll. Like they're going to get bled dry. I mean, they're always going to get bled dry, but they'll get bled dry even faster with something like this.
Yeah, like before this legislation, they would have gotten bled dry slower on Bodog because it's there's no tax. The lines would have been lower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're actually worse off.
Yeah, and I guess Jason Robbins mentioned this. Like you're going to funnel more bettors back to, why not go bet on Bodog or Bovada?
Or Crypto One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if he.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say we could see if he says anything else interesting here.
Yeah.
I actually met with legislative leaders in the weeks before the budget was released, and they made no mention of this. So it's sort of crazy how it all went down, but unfortunately they made that decision. And now in order to be able to, actually offer the product in the state, this is something that we unfortunately have to do. And hopefully, there'll be some blowback and they'll reconsider.
So you think the result of this is that instead of betting with you because it'll be too expensive, they're going to go to illegal black market or I guess smaller players as well?
Well, smaller players have to pay the same thing. So, I think listen, I hope that bettors
But they
still
don't have
stay
as
with
much
the legal
business,
market,
I guess, in Illinois. So maybe they can absorb it better?
Right. No, not really. Because if you think about, say somebody wants to make a bet of $1, the actual profit margin on that bet is probably about 10 cents. You're getting charged 50 cents plus the tax on the 10 cents. So in order to, you can even at $10, the math doesn't really work. So you have to pass some of that along to the consumer. Otherwise, you can't take that bet no matter what your size and scale is. So anyone in the legal market is going to be damaged by this.
Wow. So on screen, they're showing the projections of the impact. Is this saying, I assume this is how much money they think they will raise from this tax, 79 million from DraftKings and 86 million from FanDuel.
That's how it
based on their their volume or whatever. I assume that's like a forecast based on their stuff. That is a hefty amount.
And the budget when I was there was like 55 billion total. I wonder what it is now. It's probably like 75.
Jeez.
And it's just going to drive bettors to the illegal market or drive them to bet bigger amounts. One of the two.
Jason, it's hard to believe this came as a surprise to the industry. Just strategically, we know that when you grow a new business out of nothing, the states are going to see the money. They're in need as well. They're going to go after it through taxes. Was there always sort of a playbook as to when this day would come?
Well, I think it's an education issue. I think some of the people making these decisions don't understand that they're not taxing our profit. They're actually taxing our revenue. Not even taxing our revenue, they're taxing our gross receipts. So effectively, in Illinois, it becomes a very, very large percentage of the revenue, which means that any investment in product or any other parts of the business have to get cut back. Obviously, that's something that I think we need to do a better job educating.
Is that disingenuous saying it's taxing our gross receipts when they've already said they're just going to immediately pass it on to the consumer?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Gross is total, so it would impact your total receipts, right? It would be higher.
Well, I get how if they don't pass it on, how that would be a huge chunk of money that they were paying 50 cents on every bet made. But if you just pass it on, it's just, hey, state wants this, bettors have to bet this, and we continue to take what we normally would take.
Yeah. Well, all else being equal, like
Yeah.
Anthony says here, that's if their volume remains constant.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully I doubt he's going to, but it'd be interesting to see what he's going to do with like single game parlays. And
Yes.
where a lot of these guys are betting $1.87 on a 10-man single game parlay. If you add 50 cents to that, it's already a horrible bet, but my God.
I know. And it's also bad. It like gets you, say if you're someone who just makes like one large wager, you're just like, whatever, 50 cents. But if you're someone who's like, I'm going to bet, if you're like an arbitrage bettor, or you're someone who's betting like getting 100 props down at like $25 a pop or whatever, like that tax really starts to add up for the consumer.
They also have like the smaller tax, so it's for the smaller operators, which is 25 cents, which is still bad, like really bad. Like for any bet under like $7, it's just like, are you kidding me?
Well, and it's hilarious. It's like, okay, you're saying that the smaller operator is is half the size of DraftKings, or is going to make half the revenue. Like you're even punishing the smaller operator more disproportionately to how much money they bring in.
Yeah, it's another barrier to entry. So like DraftKings, I thought they had more influence than they do, obviously, because I can't imagine they wanted this.
No,
they do want, even though he will say they don't. They do want a barrier to entry to competition once they get a stranglehold on the market share, and they're pretty close. I'm surprised that FanDuel is actually higher in Illinois based on that last graphic we just looked at. But this seems like a bridge too far, even for moting off competition. But you can't. There's no way you could start a small online sportsbook in Illinois with right off the bat, all your bettors are getting 25 cents per bet. That's impossible. I'm still thinking about what you said, like, what's the justification that it's okay if you go in and place the bet?
It's just such a weird.
The whole thing makes no damn sense.
The other thing, like on the flip side of it, and we've talked about this before, like it's not saying it's okay whatsoever, but I truly think like a good chunk of casual bettors like either won't notice or won't care just the way people participate in betting. It's like, oh, my buddies all want to bet on this guy on the UFC fight. Like you're going in, you're logging in to place that bet, and no 50-cent tax is like slowing you down from doing that. It's just another one of those things where it's almost like predatory in a way, because the typical bettor isn't even looking or thinking about those type of things when they make their bet.
And if you could highlight, it's Mookie's comment. This reminds me of when we had to start paying for your bags at grocery stores. So you have to do that in the city of Chicago, but outside the city, you don't have to pay for it. But the justification was climate change or not polluting the seas, right?
Yeah.
As if just one county in Illinois is really going to change the world. The reality, though, is they needed money for the city. That would be a city tax, this is a state tax.
Yeah.
Because they have budget problems too. And then you just say, oh, we're saving the environment, right? Especially in a super liberal city like Chicago. And then everyone has to shut up. And then you pay whatever, a quarter, a bag or whatever it is. This one, however, what justification is there?
No, there's none.
It's like, oh, it's worse than we thought. It's even more sinful and addictive. But they don't even give a justification. They're just like, there's more tax on DraftKings. It like goes without saying that this is a sinful thing that we can tax. And so we're gonna do it. No one's gonna say anything, and no one does say anything, really.
How do you think this would have been handled? Because like the way this is set up, it makes it very elegant to pass the buck on to the bettor. We want a 50% tax on every bet. All right, here it is. If they had just said, we are upping the tax on your license to operate in the state of Illinois, and whatever they were doing, like the similar bank, and they're like, all right, it's going to cost you an extra $50 million to operate in the state of Illinois. Yeah. Then how does DraftKings handle it?
My guess is the reason they can't do that is because there's too many other operators that don't have sports books, or their sports books are really small, like Rush Street Gaming, I think is they own that one that's Bet Rivers that just like insta bans anyone who shows any semblance of a coherent betting strategy. They don't have they have a lot of influence. The guy who owns that, who's like 8 million years old. And a few others too. And so like they would all have to pay the same licensing fee tax, like under your idea. The more I think about it, here's what happened. I think they're like, we need $150 million. And he's just some staffer is like, okay, well, obviously gambling's bad, so let's go after DraftKings and FanDuel. How much did they make last year? They gave us this much. How many bets were there? Okay, this times 50 cents is this much. This times that's, oh my God, that's 150 million. That's exactly what we need.
Someone asked ChatGPT, how do we
need 150 million?
Yeah.
And if you multiply the amount of bets last year times 50 cents, or whatever the average is between the gross there, the 25 cents for the lower ones, I'm sure they probably just looked at DraftKings like, oh, okay, this fills the budget hole. Boom, put it in there. We'll try to pass it when DraftKings lobbyist is out of town, and then we fill our budget hole.
Yeah,
that's where the 50 cent. I bet that's where the 50 cent number came from.
Oh, I'm sure it was something very stupid. Philly says, won't this kill market-based action? Players will go elsewhere. I mean, that's the question, is like, how long does it take? But the point is if this is happening to every operator in Illinois, there's nowhere to hide, right? Like there's nowhere to run to. Like, it's not like you can just go over to a different book if all of them are having to play by this new tax.
Yeah, it's just the
black
offshore.
Market. Yeah. Yep.
Just the offshore. I would bet it. They do lose some dudes to Bodog.
Yeah.
I imagine there'll be a certain. I don't think it'll be very high though. I mean, it'll be interesting to find out what happens. But like 3% of dudes maybe, like who, some guy who's like bets like $1 or $2. And then the first week of the Bears, the Bears season kicks off. Like, let's see, I'm going to do $1 parlay on Odunze yards over $1.50. What the hell is this? And then they spend the rest of the day researching the black market, deposit on Bodog, and never go back. I don't think it's going to be very high though. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's actually a good comparison for like what makes people blink at a kind of a dumb arbitrary fee. The ATM. Anthony says, do people still use an ATM to take out $20 where there's a $2.50 fee?
They do.
I normally my justification is like when I see the $2.50 or $3.50, I'm like, fuck, I'll take out more to really get my money's worth out of this fee. Yes. But I've had buddies who, like in Vegas, I remember, and this was like when we were right out of college and, pinching pennies, who they saw one of those and they're like, I'm walking, looked up, and it's like a 3-mile walk to the Bank of America or whatever, where he had his card, where he wouldn't get charged an ATM fee. And I was like, dude, I was like literally trying to have him do an expected value on his time. I'm like, this is going to take you 2 hours to save 250 cents. Is your hourly rate really worth, $3.50? But just out of pure principle, he's like, I refuse to pay $3.50 to withdraw my own money out of a bank.
Oh man. Yeah. I couldn't do that. I'd pay the $2.50. I'm guilty of doing this way too often. Oh,
I know. But it's funny too, like the things that you have sticker shock on. I do agree though that it'll hurt their bottom line and it'll hurt things, but it's still probably going to go unnoticed by a good chunk of casual bettors.
And it could backfire where X percent of bettors will think DraftKings is charging them.
Yeah.
Not the state of Illinois, despite it probably saying like the Illinois tax of 50 cents.
Yeah.
Probably get another 5.
The other thing with this, like you mentioned, the bag thing, the ATM, like you are literally paying for the convenience of the bank in front of you. Nolan mentioning people paying $15 for a DoorDash fee, again, paying for the convenience of not having to get in your car and drive down the block. Like at least there's logic to like these. Like you're not paying. I guess now you are. You're paying for the convenience of getting to bet online because you can walk down to the brick and mortar casino and do it for free. So you are paying for convenience.
You already have an account there. You already have your money on there. You don't want to download a Bodog app or some other thing and transfer money. That's why you're paying the extra 50 cents.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very interested in the single game or multi-game parlay better who bets under, $6 a parlay, what they do.
Yeah. Well, Mookie says 50 cents is nothing on their 11-leg parlay that could win 11,267 cents. Would you do have those like mega bomb parlays though? Like just having an extra 50 cents makes your winnings pretty significant, like, on a 12-leg parlay. So maybe people do the like, oh, if I was able to bet $9 or $10 on this versus $9.50, that's like a $2,000 swing in my winnings or something, like maybe that, starts to give people pause.
I think this is a spot we have to pay attention to, that they might do the VIG thing instead of the 50 cent because they want them to still do it.
Yep.
So they might do the VIG thing there, which might get them in trouble later on when the state goes, hey, you got to get rid of showing this 50 cent tax if you're not doing it here. So maybe they shouldn't play that. But it's going to be hard. Like the 50 cent thing, though, with that example, Anthony, is the problem is the dude's going to bet 50 cents to win 11,200, and then he's going to go, okay, I'm okay with that. Let's go to confirm. And it's like you're betting $1. And he's gonna be like, oh, hold on. In fact, I only have 58 cents in my account. What do you mean I'm betting $1? And then they're not even gonna know what's going on. They're gonna have to check. Like that'll piss off those type of guys. Like that guy specifically. It doesn't matter that it's 11,253. It matters that he wants to bet 50 cents and it's $1 now.
Well, and you heard Jason Robbins in that thing. He basically said our hope is that there's a lot of backlash and people complain. Do you think? DraftKings controls, how the stuff is displayed, if there's notes or whatever. Like, do you think that they would ever intervene in a way where it's like it puts the tax in red and has some little pop-up that's like, this is the state of Illinois making you pay this tax. If you're unhappy that you have to pay this 50 cents, write this person or, fill out this petition or whatever their action item, but just like really slap it in people's faces. Hey, this isn't us. This is the state making you do this.
So like on a scale of 1 to 10, that's like what, a 9 or 10. I bet they go like as high as like 6 or 7. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not sure they're going to antagonize the state that hard. That's like a 9. Like they could probably do something even crazier, right? I'm guessing like a 6. Like it'll be a line item that's very obvious that says Illinois tax and somewhere there. And like any questions will at least you'll be sent like send this letter to your local politician or explanation of, hey, this bill is the reason you're getting this.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe that or a little step above that. I'm not sure they're going to go nuclear though.
I agree, but I do think it'd be smart, right? Because it's like the whole point is that we just said like most casual bettors aren't going to notice, but if DraftKings knows they're going to feel it in their bottom line, ultimately, whether from people leaving or betting less, then they are very heavily incentivized to educate their customers on why that is happening.
Yeah, but you don't want to piss off the governor. You don't want to piss off the people you're going to have to negotiate a new bill with. But I don't know. It gets pretty antagonistic between the legislators and the lobbyists quite a bit. I've seen like a lot of fights like break out in the Capitol and stuff between old fat guys. So
Yeah.
maybe they should go. I mean, I can't imagine they're not looking at other lobbyists. And if Pritzker's going to try to run for president, maybe there's a new governor that's more in need of contributions to the campaign because Pritzker's rich already. He doesn't need DraftKings money.
Yeah.
That's really a big part of it. Pritzker doesn't care.
I wonder, like, could you ever envision a scenario in politics where the gambling contingent is actually like a sought after contingent in the way it's like, oh yeah, I want like, God-fearing Christians and how they, swing elections. Can you ever envision like, hey, this cohort of hardcore gamblers, you actually need to get them on your side?
Not a chance. I do not see that. I do see though, like after the boomer generation is no longer around, like a big portion of them, I think the people younger are way more okay with gambling and stuff like and fantasy football, etc., sports betting. And you won't be able to just blanket pass a crazy tax like this as easily because boomers have been trained. Gambling sin, gambling bad, right? Because they were trying to keep it illegal for so long that there was propaganda about how bad this is forever. So I don't think they'll be able to get away with this in 15 years. But I mean, like who the hell knows what we're looking at 15 years from now? But
yeah,
it was just too easy for them to do this.
Let's move on. There was another story here that you flagged right before we went on here. FanDuel considering a partnership with Kalshi here in a move that could reshape the landscape of sports betting in the United States. FanDuel is reportedly in discussions to partner with Kalshi, a federally regulated event contract platform. This potential deal could unlock nationwide opportunities by allowing FanDuel to access prediction markets across all 50 states. And I do feel like this is a good story to roll into right after the tax thing, right? Because these prediction markets are existing in more of a gray area right now where I could see it being extremely attractive to DraftKings and FanDuel to start playing in that sandbox instead of the one that's trying to get them to pay a 50-cent tax on every single bet.
I mean, it doesn't seem like these two things are uncorrelated to me for sure. Like,
no,
they're like, what the hell should we do? I don't know. Buy Kalshi? Like, I don't know what we could do. I kind of hope this doesn't happen. Personally, I want these things separate from each other.
Yeah.
And have like two different legal battles. People are like way more accepting for, because it's like DFS, the difference between DFS and sports betting. Like they couldn't put a tax like that on fantasy football because everyone knows what fantasy football is. It's just too popular. It's too much in the culture to be like, hey, no, guys, it's gambling, so we're gonna screw them too. And I hope this stuff stays away from that zeitgeist, where it's like crypto related, more like stock related, contract related, and they leave it alone best they can. Like they're still gonna screw with it. Who knows what direction it'll ultimately take? But I can't imagine FanDuel helping that. If that were your goal, which I think I'd like to see that.
Here's a question. Why does FanDuel, other than like the existing tech, and I guess, yes, I get it, customer base, but why, in the same way, like this is like a comparable, right? Like, Underdog started doing like the pick'em and the peer-to-peer stuff. And then like DraftKings, they kind of like follow suit, kind of like jockeying of like, oh, this is kind of a way to get around having to deal with some of that stuff. Why doesn't FanDuel just build their own prediction market as its own kind of like entity? Like, why do they need to acquire Kalshi? Because then they can like have almost the best of both worlds, you'd think.
Well, Kalshi got like some specific ruling that they sued to acquire. So like they're vetted already by the what is it, the CTFC or whatever the agency is. I don't know what it's called. It's CFTC.
Yeah.
So like I think you're buying into that. Where like if you did FanDuel's predictionmarket.com, you'd have to start that whole process over, and who knows what it looks like. So maybe you're buying that, the legal obstacle.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Although it does seem like if you just mapped one for one, like if you're like, this is what was ruled for Kalshi as being okay. And it's like, we are literally just going to create the Kalshi clone, and just have everything where then you say like, hey, what they said for this case certainly applies to us. But yeah.
It's not FanDuel, is it either? Right now that I'm thinking, isn't it a FanDuel owned by that Irish or English sports book?
They were just showing it on the ticker of that thing. It's like Shutter or something. Flutter Entertainment.
Flutter, wow, that's a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if like Flutter buys it, maybe that doesn't look as bad as if FanDuel buys, but it doesn't matter. They'll say FanDuel, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, I don't know. I kind of hope that doesn't happen. What are you thinking? No,
I mean, I think that's a good foresight to be like, you give legislators one big target of like, they're trying to just wiggle out of this. This is more, a derivative of what they're doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like, cause that's probably what FanDuel's thinking too. It's like, how can we wiggle out of this 50-cent tax and the upcoming copycats in other states, which is like almost definitely going to happen. That would be, by the way, be a good prediction market to put on Kalshi or Polymarket. Will there be a second state in 2025 to add a 50-cent gambling tax per transaction? Like the over, and I would say like start that line at like 20-25%.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And this is also on the heels of X is now the official, I don't think they acquired, it says official prediction market partner with Polymarket, which obviously makes a ton of sense from X's standpoint too. That in that kind of partnership though, Brian, that already almost naturally keeps it a little distanced from like sports betting, and that you're like, hey, here's another prediction market. They're partnered with a social media site. Like, no, it's definitely different. Trust us, it's different.
Well, that's what we always wanted, right? With poker and even DFS is like, let Apple do it, let Amazon do it, and then try to fuck with them. Right? It's not going to be as easy, and they just never wanted to deal with it. And so then remember when CBS was like inches away from starting that DFS site? Do you remember that? It was probably right when we first started, maybe before we started the show. CBS has a huge season-long fantasy player base. I always liked their season-long stuff. Their season-long like interface.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it would have been super juicy if it got passed, and it was just too much cloudiness, and I can't remember what the landscape was back then, but ultimately they got really close, and then they canceled the plans. And I really wanted them to get in there because it's CBS too. Like, what are they gonna do to CBS? It's a lot harder to push around Apple and Amazon and CBS than it is, Circa Sports and I mean FanDuel and DraftKings. I would have put money on, speaking of prediction markets, I would have lost that they had more influence than this. If there was some way to measure that. Yeah. I would have thought they would have more influence than this. And I was wrong. So, but long story short, like it'd be nice if X or I don't know who else could possibly get into this market. I mean, I can see Bezos getting into it somehow, not like Amazon directly, but.
Yeah. What about, because I was just thinking, so one of the things that obviously with X, like you have this online water cooler and conversations are happening, and there's like this natural integration of like, this is where the current money is on this debate. I was thinking too, like, what about something like, again, I don't know if Google would do this, but like the way the content on YouTube, like if you had this built-in way of like, say you were streaming some kind of like contest. It could be something as dumb as like a beer pong tournament. And you had this like built-in way to have the prediction market pop up. And in real time, it's like embedded into the experience where you can like bet on who you think is going to win, because this new market is now part of like the stream essentially. So it's like you have the chat, what you're watching, and a chance to wager on it in real time.
That would be cool, but the whole point, these are peer-to-peer. Like you have to build a contract on the other side, and liquidity in the ping pong
smaller
market might not be, although it is actually huge in sports betting. Like you can bet a lot on ping pong apparently.
Oh, and I said beer pong. Like I meant like, say you have like a Barstool, like host this, with their content creators, and they get 40,000 people watching live. These guys play beer pong. Like I'm sure you could fill a lot of orders in both directions on like who is going to win.
And I think the cool thing is you can start it. Like you just start that market.
Right.
And then if the users want to match the sides, they match the sides. If they don't, they don't. And it's fun content for Barstool.
And then like all that stuff becomes fun content. I mean, how many times did you see like this election cycle? Like I heard the Polymarket odds shifting more than I ever did polls. Though the polls are now leaning. It was. I mean, and granted, that's kind of like a selection bias. Like I'm hanging out online and not reading legacy news. But still, like that was a huge content driver throughout the election.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's way more interesting. I guess it depends. I mean, it depends. I think also our sports fandom, Pete, has diminished greatly since we were young men. So like if you would have asked me when I was 23, what's more interesting, this presidential election market or the Bears, with Urlacher at the helm, I don't give a shit about the Polymarket back then. So maybe it's just getting older and not caring about his sports as deeply. But I think it's way more interesting. The what about this? Like I think like the crossroad between crypto markets and like gambler type would get it is like the all-in pod guys. Like I could see Chamath, and I'm not saying that this necessarily would turn out good, but I could see like a Chamath or David Sachs getting involved in one of these if they're not already.
Yeah,
but pushing that, like trying to push it, which I think would probably be good. Like I don't know, like my whole thing here is like somehow keep this away from sports betting.
Right. Yeah, I think that is probably in our best interest. Did you see the screenshot I posted from a message my wife sent me the other day?
Yes, I did. I think I like that. Did I like your post or not?
I'll pull it up because this goes into like, what is the total addressable?
Yeah, she wanted to bet on that trial. That was like a very East Coast thing. Like I didn't see any coverage of that.
Which is I was having a debate with Lauren about this last night because I'm telling you, like here in New England, I mean, we went out to dinner for her birthday last night, and I kid you not, both tables on opposite sides of us were talking about the Karen Reed trial. Like everyone in New England was obsessed with this. And so for our audio listeners here, the message I received from Lauren the other day was, "Can I place a bet on Karen Reed verdict? I heard there were betting markets." and then Davis, I think in the chat, wanted me to give her his Kalshi promo code there as well.
Oh my god!
But it is like even people like that. Like she got really invested watching the trial. She had her lean that she was going to be innocent. She's like, I want to put a little action.
Aren't you worried about her getting addicted to gambling? Because of this Karen Reed verdict?
I'm more worried about her getting addicted to just becoming obsessed with these true crime court cases. She was like in all of these text groups, like with her mom and her sister, her friends. I mean, like just absolutely obsessing over it. And who am I to cast a stone about obsessing over something stupid? But I was marveling at it.
My instinct here is like that's another good thing about these prediction markets is they're more likely to bring female people interested in like the ideas. But I think just betting in general supersedes that so dramatically that it might be a little higher than sports betting or something, but I just don't think women in general are that interested in gambling.
Well, here's the thing too. Like my wife in this instance, she does not care whether the bet is placed on DraftKings or Kalshi, right? Like she was just like, hey, is there a place to place this bet for me? It was basically like saying, hey, could you get this down? Where I think a lot of them too, that's how they view it, which is funny because we're talking about the distinction between that. It's just like, where does the betting market exist? Like where can I go to place this?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it wasn't it on
I honestly, I was so busy and I was just like, Lord, I didn't have time to go poke around for it. And I don't have accounts on like Polymarket or Kalshi. Do you have accounts on those sites?
Polymarket's illegal, so you can't have one there.
Well, that's why I was trying to trick you into admitting that you did.
you get her blacklisted because she's
Yeah.
makes an illegal account on Polymarket, international criminal. Kalshi's probably illegal in Boston. It's not legal in Illinois, but it's legal in most states. And but they have less markets, so they might not have had that Karen Reed one.
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Is anyone else here from the Midwest? Like I saw like Karen Reed, you know, the video like thumbnails and stuff occasionally on YouTube, and I've seen the name on Twitter. Like I know there was something going on, but like it wasn't. No one was talking about it to me.
Well, that's what I was like debating with Lauren, because I was more on your side. I was like, I don't think this is a national story, and I was like, there are some elements to the trial that I think make it particularly mainstream. You know, you have like this vaguely attractive woman, you have police corruption, you know, a good old fashioned mystery. Like I get that. But this is not like P. Diddy or, you know, it's not like the Blake Lively, you know, stuff where like I was like, I think you go up to a random person in Illinois and I don't think they know about this.
Nah, no chance. No chance.
Yeah.
What's that girl from years ago? Anthony?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she was also attractive. And that just boosts the numbers up.
Yeah.
A pretty girl who might have killed somebody. Oh.
Yes.
I love that Carrie Elways gift.
There's always that. It's if someone that's either accused or who is killed is attractive, if they're ever affiliated whatsoever with like an Ivy League institution, like if you have a Harvard or Yale or Princeton related crime, I mean, that is catnip for like a national news story because no one wants, it could never happen to someone who goes to Harvard. Yes.
Pretty Harvard girl in a murder case is a podcast waiting to happen. I'm sure I can't imagine there's not a ton of Karen Reed podcasts going right now.
Oh, there are so many. I'm telling you the amount of content.
Oh, wait, this might be because I've never spoken to a girl in real life, Pete. Maybe the girls in Midwest are deeply interested in this.
Yes, maybe. Karen Reed, the Massachusetts woman accused of this. So it did make it on TMZ there, which obviously this tweet has 24 million impressions, Brian, if we're trying to get some data on the news story. 3.5K retweets, 26K likes, 870 has just been found not guilty. So and then the number one reply is Grok. Explain this like Jar Jar Binks using rap lyrics. And Grok says, yo, Misa, Jar Jar Binks, dropping rhymes so slick. Karen Reed's trial. Let's break it down quick. Prosecution said she hit John, left him cold in the snow, drunk and mad. Her car's taillight took the blow. DNA on her ride. They claim she said, I hit him, yo. I've seen enough. Artificial AGI is here. The singularity is nigh. Once Grok is able to do Jar Jar Binks rapping the court case, I think we've reached the pinnacle.
Here, I just sent you the Polymarket link. Why don't you pop that puppy up and we can look at the history of this Karen Reed guilty in officer's death.
And then I need to see when Lauren wanted to bet it and what kind of odds
good call.
Okay, so this Karen Reed guilty in officer's death, it had, Brian, 177,000 in total volume here.
Well, not a lot there. Not a lot.
Wow. So you were up until the verdict when it obviously plummeted down to 0. Like moments before the verdict, it was at like 32% chance.
Was she betting innocent? Do you even know?
Yes. Yeah. No, Lauren wanted innocent.
Okay. And then what time what day did she want it?
This was June 17th. So this would have been what, Tuesday?
Did you consider
afternoon
just taking her action and charging her 10% vig?
Yes. Yeah. So looking around this time on June 17th in the afternoon when Lauren wanted to do it, it was about 21%. Yes.
Not
so
bad.
She would have had to lay what, like 100 to win like 20 at that point. Yeah. So, I could have paid for one of our Mai Tais last night for her birthday dinner had I, gotten this bet in.
Yeah, you'd have to bet. You'd have to bet a pretty penny to make. But the whole time it was like right around there. Yeah, but she had the right side, Pete. She was directionally right.
That's fun. I guess I've never spent time on Polymarket. I didn't realize they had a comment section.
They have a comment section, and apparently they track the bettors too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Top holders. Here you go.
Are you sure she only wanted to bet? Because there's this one too. There was prison time. There's acquitted of all charges. There's guilty of murder.
Whoa, there's a lot of because this had multiple no prison time, less than 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 20 plus. So this one's hilarious too. There's something even perverted about getting in the weeds on if she's getting 5 to 10 or 10 to 20. They have similar amount of volume here, 188,000 on this.
This one she might have been able to get a little bit better odds.
Well, she wasn't.
Oh wait, she wasn't acquitted of all charges.
She got an OUI. Was the
one they gave her a DUI, right?
Yeah.
So why did it go 100% yes up there? Why did it?
Let's see.
That's right. That's 100%. Yeah. Not acquitted. Right?
Acquitted of all listed charges. Only listed charges will be considered for this market. So yeah, I don't know how that got.
Karen Reed is not found guilty. Wait. What can you go back to the verbiage down right there? The market will resolve to yes if Karen Reed is not found guilty of any of the charges for which she's presently in trial. That reads so weird. Not found guilty.
Yeah.
So she was found guilty though.
Of that one. But yeah. OUI was a lesser included. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. All right, Keith Esquire.
I'd get we're talking tabloid and Polymarket here. I don't have any time for your fucking legalese.
Yeah, this is we're making things up here. We don't want.
I do like what we did. Maybe this is our thing, Brian, when we're struggling for topics. I mean, the chat going wild. I mean, we're going back to Casey Anthony, OJ. This is we could have a much more successful podcast if we were just a true crime detective show. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. It's definitely a more interesting content than is Corey Connors overpriced this week or something.
How have I haven't had a chance to catch up, but how have the sim shows
we did
going for golf?
We did too. We're actually live now with the PGA tool.
Nice.
So people can check that out if they want. We did 2 shows. The first show we got like 700 views, and then this last one not as many.
What was which one was for the was one of them for the majors though?
Yeah.
The most recent one or the one
that was last week, so 700 for that one. And then this one, I don't even know what we ended at, probably like 400 or something.
So what does the PGA tool do?
It's sim.
Okay.
DFS sim. And you can put in projections and ownership, and then it'll build based off of what you give it. and make like kind of like an unlimited amount of fields. It's not
Is
totally
this it?
unlimited, but a shit ton. Yeah.
The golf lineup builder.
Yep, you got it. Oh, it looks
So
like your
what-
account's still working.
Yeah, I mean, you would have been hearing from my lawyer if it wasn't. So what? How is it functioning different from an optimizer? Like, where's the sim stuff occurring?
So it is an optimizer. It works the same thing, just like the NFL. So if you go to like settings, you could make uniques or whatever, salary, randomness, and then generate the lineups.
Mm-hmm.
So you could generate a lineup right now, and then you could run it. Now this goes to Dan's personal stuff.
Okay.
We're eventually gonna migrate it to AWS. And they can't see, but that pops out a little. You could select like what slate size you want.
How do I build more than one lineup?
Go to settings.
Oh, gotcha. So you can build up 5,000.
Well, yeah. So right now it's 5,000, but then we're gonna add a second thing where it's gonna be like a shit ton of lineups, but it's gonna be like auto generated.
Mm-hmm.
This is for like making it how you want it, but they have nothing to do with the fields, right? The fields are all generated in the back end. How many lineups did you make?
500. Was that too many?
No, that's fine. I don't know if you put any randomness on there; it goes way faster. But
I should have. I'm rusty on my my
It's
sim
probably
stuff
fine.
here, so
it's probably
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So I think the interesting thing is that it's all built off of whatever you tell it to do. And
Okay.
the fact that it's not just like one field that it's comparing to, it's multiple fields. So like, we talked about this, like in small fields, how sims can be a problem, because if you just have like one field or a limited amount of fields and you're off. So if it's like 100 man and you have one lineup of Tiger Woods and he's actually in 10 of them, well, that's a real big difference in a small field.
Mhm.
It matters in the large fields too, but it doesn't penalize you as much. The projections you're using are why the EVs are all screwed up. That's just like a default projection that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. So I'm running sim here, and then where is this going to populate in a new spot?
No, you already did one.
Oh, okay.
You see the EV.
The EV.
I said
Okay,
that
it's
EV
showing.
number's all screwed up.
Yeah.
Because the info you did there, you use just like some default projection source. It's not
Gotcha.
real.
You got it. So you're saying that I can't put this lineup in and then sue you?
Well, it's too
when I
late.
don't have a
We started.
3,000 Oh, this already. Yeah.
Yeah, we started at 8 a.m.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this looks fun though. It looks cool.
Right. Yeah, we're adding a bunch of stuff as we go, but we wanted to get something out there.
Nice. Very good. When's the next major coming up? British?
Yeah. The Open, Pete. Yeah, the modern
I'm sorry.
way. The Open.
First I get, didn't know OUI was a lesser included. Didn't know. Just taking L's left and right around here. Anything else going on at Run the Sims you want to shout out?
You know what the code is for the PGA? Code Davis.
Really? Really?
10% off.
Okay. There you go. Short King.
Oh, and the McRib is back, guys. AI told me. I Googled it before the show.
Is it? Okay, because that's what I was skeptical. Yeah, and I will update the title because
we
I would
did not
hate to
clickbait though. We talked about the McRib. It is back.
Man, there you go. The McRib is back. See, that's how you do clickbait. You string them along for an hour and 4 minutes, and then you pay it off. What I found, there's a McRib locator. It shows some locations have sold it for as low as $3.99 and as high as $7.89 in other locations. They're the highest. Okay, you want to guess, Brian? Because I just clicked the McRib locator. Do you want to guess the state I'll let you guess the state with the most expensive McRib.
I mean, it's got to be New York.
I think I would have gravitated there too. If you think about it a little harder.
Is it like Alaska or Hawaii?
Alaska. Yeah. The lowest is also hard. I don't know how I would land on this. Where do you think the cheapest McRib can be had?
Wisconsin.
That's not a bad guess. Oregon, Forest Grove, Oregon, $3.99. In Kodiak, Alaska, you're gonna have to pony up $7.89.
I was thinking, like, what's the easiest, quickest way to get compressed pork drippings? Probably Wisconsin.
One more fun fact while I'm here. All McDonald's in Germany and Luxembourg have McRib, as reported by a vigilante user named Elias on April 6th. So there you go. If you guys want to check out McRibs, you can use promo code Davis. Oh, no, I just posted the Karen Reed link, not the McRib link. McRiblocator.com. Knock yourself out. I'm going to head over and do ship chasing here. We have a bit show on tap. Pat Crane wants to draft an NFL or a fantasy team, but of NFL coaches. So we got like heights and weights in there. So we're gonna make that work. And then I think that's it. I'll have After Dark on a Saturday night, gonna do Best Ball Bash style. So if you're in the chat and you want to put your name in the drawing, you can hop on and draft with me Saturday night. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next time on Lulz. For Bric, I'm Pete. For the McRib, and for those people who have to pay $7 for it in Kodiak, Alaska, we'll see you next time.